Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Chrism, and I would like to welcome you to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. And I'm going to leap right into it today, and I want you to look at the idea of holding a mirror up to yourself. Look at the positives that you have and that you reflect into the greater society. Look at these beautiful gifts of grace that you give when you have the compassion. You see the homeless person, you see the animal that is wounded, and you do everything that you can do to try to help that situation. A friend comes to you with a child that is in need, and you have the special gifts that can give that child some aid and healing, and you reach into that, or you in many ways, even in just the small ways, the smile, the eye contact. Remember, the Kundalini travels upon the visual wavelength, and so you're giving the gifts of grace all the time, even whether you know it or not. And as you practice the safety protocols, which you can find at KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com, and you look at the menu on the left-hand side, it's about the fifth option down. When you practice those safety protocols, you're constantly in levels of surrender, of sacrifice, of the gift of yourself, the gift of the grace that's flowing through you. And as it flows through you, it gives these levels of confidence and competence and happiness and joy and belonging. As many of you know, it can be a very, very lonely experience having the Kundalini, having it in the awakened state around you. Nobody else around you can relate to what's happening to you. And at best, they think something's wrong with you and want to have you committed to a psych ward. So you keep it to yourself, and yet this joy bursts out of you and into your radiance, and it affects everything and everyone around you in a large, large footprint of grace. And so I want you to hold that mirror up to yourself, and I want you to smile. Smile a life-giving, love-giving hug of a smile to yourself for the work that you do constantly, 24/7, day in, day out, as you surrender to the Kundalini within you. And for those of you that are in the driving activation stage, as the Kundalini comes to you in different manifestations and says, okay, Chrism, I want you to clear this up. I want you to clear that up. I want you to change this behavior. I want you to change that behavior. I want you also to give yourself a very, very beautiful, deep recognition and gratitude for the work that you're doing, because this is not easy work. As many of you know who work with me and who have worked with me one-on-one, I'm not an easy teacher. I mean, sometimes I'm an impossibly hard teacher, and I know this. And I know this as the Kundalini comes through me and it gives me certain things to do with the student. I know that it's not going to land well on that person's ego. And so I want you to really, really give yourself a pat on the back without going too far into pride with it or into ego aggrandizement with it, but recognize and give yourself validation for doing the hard work, for doing the right work, and for doing it well. Embracing the difficulties as the Kundalini begins to reshape who you are, how you are, what you are, where you are, and most importantly, why you are. You are that chalice of grace upon this world, and being that chalice of grace has many, many rewards. Your immune system is expanded. As you surrender into this process and you're not fighting it, your self-esteem, and I mean that beyond the ego sense of the statement, the self-esteem, the feeling of love, the feeling of completion, the feeling of union is so strong and so beautiful and so enjoyable that it exceeds my ability to describe it accurately. You know, in many ways, the negative aspects of the Kundalini are very easy to describe. You can just kind of go on and on and on about the negative aspects. But the positive aspects, the love-based aspects of the Kundalini, they're so strong in their expression, and yet they push you into levels of bliss and ecstasy that defy the verbal language, that defy the ability to manifest a logical linear communication about where these places take you. I mean, so for instance, with the bliss can affect you so strongly that you'll feel it coming at you from a distance. At least I do. I feel it coming from a distance. It starts out as a sensation in the heart chakra, and this sensation begins to grow, and it grows in kind of a it starts out as just a faint tickle in the heart, something that feels good. It's not something that like a tickle in your throat. It's not like that at all. It's something that feels good, and I've had it so many times now. I know to recognize it. And I say, oh boy, here comes the bliss, and it begins to expand through your heart and then through your body, and most importantly, it expands through your head. When it hits your head, you're forced to surrender in love. You are wrapped in this explosion of love that is it's like a slow motion explosion going through your body and through your senses, and it is so powerful. You're going to hear the bird in the background. He likes it she likes it when I talk about the bliss. It's a slow motion explosion through your system that literally can erase a little bit of your memory at the time. And if you happen to be around people, or if you're in front of a crowd of people doing a seminar, like often happens with me, I try to warn people, one, that's going to happen, or two, I have another person there who's saying, well, you were talking about such and such. And so it's a very, very strong, powerful state because it has the ability to affect your memory. It goes way beyond what we can accurately describe within a verbal, in a way of using words. And I'm going to invite Santara up here right now. Hello, Santara. Welcome.
Hi, Chrism. It's good to be here. Can I just first of all check with you? Do you have the chat room open there?
I do indeed. No one's in it.
Oh, okay.
So we're all alone here. I'm gonna have you talking about your experiences with bliss while I go see what Sugar Babe is talking to me about. Okay.
Okay. Okay, Chrism wants me to talk about my experiences of bliss. It's really, really difficult. I mean, as he was saying, I also experience bliss, and it comes on me as a spontaneous thing from the Kundalini, and I can feel it coming on, and it comes on in different ways. Sometimes it begins in my heart. It's in that area, and it is like an infusion and an expansion, and I feel my heart expand and explode and burst. And in that movement and in that feeling, it's like, it's not an OBE. It's not that I leave my body, but I leave I do in a way. I leave that normality that is within my body, and I feel such a presence of love. And sometimes my body will very quietly do nothing. It's just vibrating with this feeling of love. Other times it will heave and it will cry. Sometimes it laughs. Sometimes I fall to the floor. Sometimes it's just a stillness that defies explanation. Sometimes people will notice and sometimes people don't. Recently, when it's been happening to me, it's happening in this amazingly quiet way, and I cannot believe that it goes unnoticed, but it does. Oh, you're back, Chrism. Hi.
Yeah, no, that sounds exactly right. I mean, it's the way you're describing is very accurate. And imagine, standing in front of a group of people and having that occur to you. I mean, definitely, it's noticeable. At least for me, and I think I've noticed it with you too, that the eyes will begin to tear, And it looks as if you're crying, but I mean, it is the ultimate crying for joy experience. And so yeah, I think you're very accurate in your description of it, Centaura. Thank you for covering for me here.
You're welcome.
And so as we move, we hold that mirror up to ourselves, and we're having this amazing level of balance and happiness, because we know that we are fully engaging the Kundalini. We are fully embracing this amazing change that's coming upon us, and the love is pouring through us and pouring in us and pouring out of us. Brings out levels of completion, and by completion I mean many people who have the Kundalini, they don't know why they have been selected to have the Kundalini. They don't know why. They weren't asking for it. They weren't trying for it. It just came up to them out of the blue. And some people, their whole life has been geared towards having the Kundalini, and even though they don't know it, if they start looking back in their past and they start adding up the spiritual arithmetic, it all adds up to Kundalini. And then there are other people that are trying for it, that have found a practice that works for them, or a teacher or a guru, or even some people just get activated through a CD system. These folks also activate it, and if they're able to, if they're receiving good instruction, and the instructions say, hey, surrender yourself to the Kundalini, listen to what the Kundalini is telling you to do, and if they're able to do that, they're also wrapped up in areas of happiness and joy. And yet sometimes the bliss can be so strong, because it has to be an amazing level of bliss to counterbalance to counterbalance some of the harsh realities that will occur inside of a person that is having a more of a difficult time surrendering themselves into the embrace of the Kundalini. We all live in this world of ego, and this world of ego is all around us. Our parents live in a world of ego, our siblings, our schools, our military, our religious institutions, our close friends, perfect strangers. We're all living in this very, very strong level of ego. And the Kundalini comes along and starts pushing you out of that ego. That can be somewhat of an uncomfortable world, an uncomfortable situation. And this is what some people run into. And I want to really begin to help these people to understand that the more they give into the Kundalini, the less of a challenge the changes become. The less of a challenge these changes become. And it's very important to hang on to that. Because if you've had levels of bliss, then use the memory engrams that strong levels of bliss in the beginning can form in a person. I mean, if it's brought you to the floor, and if it's brought you to the floor of your house or your kitchen or wherever, and you're just there and you're having the bliss, and words are coming to you, or phrases are coming to you, or you're hearing the music, you're smelling the incense, you're smelling the roses, you're hearing your name called, all of the different phenomena that can come with some of the immediate levels of bliss coming into a person. Remember that, and remember the raison d'être of you being inside of the Kundalini, the reason for being. And the Kundalini is not so much a destination as it's a stage of evolution, and this evolution has reached you, and it's not going to matter to the Kundalini if you surrender or if you resist. It's going to keep working on you and working on you and working on you. And it's basically saying to you that, sure, you can slam your head against the wall as many times as you want, but the wall's not going anywhere. The wall's not going anywhere. And so you really need to begin to look at what you're doing, why you're resisting. Is it the ego that you're protecting? Is it because you're afraid of not letting go of what everybody else uses as a platform of existence on this world? Is it because you're afraid of putting yourself into the lion's mouth because say you have a teacher like Chrism, and Chrism is so hard and so difficult, and is it causing you fear so that you're unable to move, you're unable to go right, go left, go forward, go backward, go up, go down? And so you just basically live your life in a level of fear and uncertainty. Is this what is happening to you? Wouldn't it be nicer to embrace the Kundalini in the many different ways that it comes, especially the ways that are working on your ego? Wouldn't that be the better way to go? And wouldn't those rewards begin to flow from that honest, true, sincere embrace of the Kundalini and the teacher that the Kundalini sent to you? Kundalini is not out to hurt you. It's not an enemy. Your ego may see it that way. It's like, oh my God, it's this unknown force, or it's this force that's flowing through this man, and he's asking me to surrender my self-validation, my wants, my desires, my expectations of being treated this way, or receiving that, or having the different kinds of relationships that I really love to have in my life, or having the entitlements that I'm really attached to. And oh my God, this teacher is saying I don't get to have those entitlements. Oh my God, wouldn't it be better just to release those desires, those attachments to those desires, into the Kundalini, into the teacher? Release it and give yourself into this equation. Stop fighting it, if indeed you are fighting it. Stop giving yourself into your fears, your petty fears. I mean, it's like having a toxic plant in your household, but it's a beautiful plant. It serves a very, very beautiful purpose, and yet, it's not something that you want to eat. Do you kill it because you've given in to your fear about it? What happens to the whole idea of do no harm? Where are you in your levels of fear control when it comes to these changes that the Kundalini is bringing into you? What are your thoughts and your thought processes, and in your day-to-day life? Are you possessed by your ego, and the ego is saying it's toxic, kill it, it's toxic, kill it, it's toxic, kill it? I mean, what is your inner dialogue like? How are you supporting your Kundalini awakening paradigm with the inner dialogue that you're having with your ego? How are you supporting your Kundalini paradigm with the inner dialogue that you're having with your ego that says, oh, he doesn't treat me right. 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 I should be treated this way. I should be treated that way. I should be exalted. I shouldn't be diminished. My ego should not be diminished. My expectations should always be fulfilled. I should be treated royally. I should be honored all the time. My ego should be totally honored. I should have anything that I want and everything that I dream of, because this is the age of the secret, right, everyone? This is the age of the secret. If you just think a certain way and use your brain in another way, well, you can have anything you want. Anything at all. Sky's the limit. Well, the Kundalini doesn't work that way. Kundalini doesn't work in the way that you would have anything and everything that you would want, because you don't really know what there is to have and hold within a semi-divine expression of life. Nobody can tell you. Hercules couldn't even tell you this, and he was semi-divine, and he had all of these trials and tribulations that he had to go through, and so will you. You will have the trials and tribulations of the resistance of your ego from fully embracing the Kundalini. And yet I am sitting here in this magic little chair here and staring into this computer screen, kind of with my eyes sort of closed, and I'm saying, yeah, you need to surrender into this Kundalini. You need to give your life to the Kundalini, give the control of your life to the Kundalini, give everything that you have, everything that you've ever wanted, everything that represents anything of how and who and what you are, and you give it to that Kundalini. You give it to the divine source within you. And you don't have regrets. And a lot of people say, well, how? How do I release my ego into the Kundalini? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it starts with honesty. It starts with honesty. You honestly want to do it, number one. Number two, you honestly begin to forcibly self-correct towards the giving up of your entitlements, the giving up of your expectations, the giving up of your wanting to be treated this way, or your fear of having that toxic plant in your house, or your fear of being kind to other people, especially strangers, because we're not used to talking to strangers. You force yourself into a new paradigm of the safety protocols, and you begin to follow those things every single day, every minute of every day. You do not waver in your strength. You do not waver in your determination. You do not waver. I mean, it's like trying out for a sports team. Let's say you really want to get onto a sports team. Let's say the hockey team. You really want to get onto this hockey team. Now, I've never played hockey. I don't know. I know, it's a bunch of people chasing a little thing on the ice, on ice skates. But you really want to get it. So you go, you practice every day. You get really good. You skate forwards. You skate backwards. You skate sideways. You learn to control that hockey stick, and you learn how to, I guess, dribble that, using a basketball term for hockey. Hello. Anyway, you learn how to manipulate that puck all the way to the net. You know how to do a slap shot, a side shot, this shot, that shot. And you really, really practice really well. And then you try out for the team, and of course you make it. And while you're on the team, you continue your determination. You continue your practice. You go above and beyond what maybe any of the other players are doing. You run that extra hour after practice to keep yourself fit. You really want to have this, and you want to hold it. It's the most important level of evolution that a human being can have. Kundalini awakening is fantastic. It's amazing. It's fabulous. It's beautiful. But if you keep resisting it with your ego, it's going to turn ugly. Then it turns into this chore, this like, oh God, oh my God, I have to, oh geez, I just can't flip that person off because they cut me off in traffic. Or oh my God. I really wanted to raise my middle finger, and I just I felt my middle finger was twitching. It was twitching as I was turning the wheel, and I was slamming on the brakes. It was just like, let me up, let me up, let me out, let me out, let me show them what their IQ is. It's just twitching. And it becomes a very depressive state of affairs because you're always in resistance now. Because the ego is such a dominant focus of life expression for us and for the other people around us, that when you give in to the ego instead of giving in to the Kundalini, your life turns into like this Bardo-ish hell where you're constantly being pushed away from a life expression that you're embracing because it's familiar, but the Kundalini's pushing you away from it. And so it's like slamming your head against that wall, and the Kundalini's saying, go ahead, honey, slam your head against the wall. It's just a matter of time for the Kundalini before you get tired of slamming your head against that wall. So what I'm suggesting now is to really open yourself into this process. Really embrace it. Forget about trying to reclaim the ego pleasures of the past. Forget about being treated like royalty, perhaps the way you have been treated in the past. Forget about having your every little desire taken care of. Forget about this tremendous level of self-aggrandizement that you perhaps have been living your life with. Maybe you're one of those people that others would see a certain quality in, and they would adulate you for that quality. Perhaps it's for your smartness. You're a real smart person, and people always come to you because they always know they're going to get the answer from you. And as that's happened year after year after year with you, you're giving the answer. You're the answer person. Always the right answer. Boom, boom, boom. People are coming up to you, and they always come back to you, and your ego is building and building and building itself out of being the smartest person around town. And how do you know that? Well, everybody comes. Everybody comes. And I always give them the right answer because I am the smartest person around. And so your ego has been really built up for that. And Kundalini comes along and says, no, you're not smart. You actually don't know anything. I want you to forget about this inner dialogue of you being so great. And I want you to embrace not being great and embrace not knowing the answers and embrace not being adulated for knowing all the answers and embrace not being known by yourself or by others as the ultimate in intelligence. And maybe you're somebody that has some kind of a quality that is very attractive to other people, and you built up a lifestyle and a life expression of living from the auspices of that gift, and you're living off the fat of that gift, so to speak. Maybe you're a handsome man or a beautiful woman, and you're living off the fat of those looks rather than living off the grace of your surrender to Kundalini. And I'm going to really suggest that you live off the grace of what it is to surrender to Kundalini. Excuse me. All right, so this is kind of interesting. I don't know if people just forgot, but it gives me a level of freedom. Excuse me. Gives me a level of freedom to just have this soliloquy with you who are here on the phone, and I see a New York area code. Hello, New York. I see a Minnesota area code. Hello, Minnesota. I see a Florida area code. Hello, Florida. And I see an Irish area code because it's 111 because they're number one. And so, hello, Ireland. It's really important that we begin to diminish what we have used as a crutch for ego-based self-aggrandizement. This is one of the first things the Kundalini is going to come to and begin to kind of kick out from under your arm. You don't get to use the crutch anymore. You don't get to think of yourself, as better than another person or as more competitive or more worthy than another person. You don't get to think of yourself as solely deserving to be treated in this certain way because you've expected that your whole life. You've only had it that way your whole life, and therefore, for the rest of your life, it's going to have to be that way or you're not going to be happy, and if you're not happy, then the whole world isn't happy, et cetera, and so forth. You're going to have to learn how to change these things. You're going to have to learn how to really embrace that which doesn't give you pleasure, I guess is a certain way to look at it. Your ego is always, you've been living off of this ego pleasure your whole life, and then here, Kundalini or Chrism comes along and says, oh, no, you can't have that expectation anymore. You can't see yourself as the smartest person in the world. You can't see yourself as deserving of this form of treatment or that form of treatment, even though, yes, I understand you've had that kind of treatment your whole life. You can't use it now as a crutch. Okay? It is no longer part of your life expression. You're going to have to find levels of joy, happiness, and bliss coming from your embracing of the Kundalini and embracing of the changes that it's making within you. Embracing the changes that it's making within you, especially when they become very difficult and they have no rhyme or reason. You're standing there and you're going, oh my God, this is being asked of me, and it's like, wait a minute, let me reassess what's going on here. I'm being asked to climb into a cement mixer in a crouched up position. That little thing that spins the cement and mixes it. I'm being handed a handheld chisel, air-driven chisel, and without any ear protection inside this enclosed metal space, I'm being told to chisel all these things out just because somebody wants me to. Oh, really? And, I'm supposed to like them for having me do this, too. Wow, what an interesting concept. And the ego is shrieking, are you nuts? I don't even want you to climb into that damn thing. But this was one thing that I had to do. In my early activation sequence, I had to do these things. It's, I'm not coming from a level of inexperience when I'm asking people to do these very, very difficult exercises of surrender. I've had to do all of this surrender work. And people ask me, it's like, well, how can you have a normal explosion of anger or a normal irritation, or how does this work? How are you not walking the talk, buddy boy? What's going on there? And I would ask you, what do you think is going on there? If I explode in anger at a person, what is the Kundalini in me teaching them through my explosion of anger? And their ego is literally going to go straight to this. Oh, I see. Sure. You get to be angry, and that's just your Kundalini teaching you, and you're just using that as a crutch to hide the true reason of you're not walking this talk. And okay, fine. I'll just close off to that teaching. One day, I hope that a person that would be doing that type of an ego judging type of thing will be able to have the Kundalini flow through them in such a way that it begins to control how they act 24/7. And when the Kundalini throws them a curveball, I hope that they have a student and they can, they're pushed into having to explain themselves that way too. And I know this is part of the deal. I get it. It's part of the deal. I was very, 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 I was the same way. I was the exact same way. I was like going, you want me to climb into a cement mixer? Are you nuts? I totally get it. And I understand it. And it's just, as you get deeper and deeper and deeper into these areas of surrender, you also get deeper and deeper and deeper into areas of understanding why you're surrendering, why these ego-based gratuities are being left behind, why these things are happening, why it is that you no longer get to be the way that you have always been up to this point. And I'm going to come over to Santara. You know what I'm saying, Santara?
Of course I do. Well, yeah, like having a teacher like Chrism is rare. I mean, Chrism is mean because he knows and recognizes the ego. And I think, the ego in me, let's talk about me. And, he's prepared not to be liked for, it's rare because he asks for surrender. That's very difficult. And it's rare because he recognizes the ego and how the ego responds. And I know this because he does this with me. And he works with my Kundalini to bring my ego into alignment with the Kundalini agenda for me. And, that hasn't been easy. And I know if I didn't have a teacher, my ego would have, my Kundalini is strong. My Kundalini is really strong in me, but my ego is also strong. And it's really interesting, Chrism, when you were talking there about entitlements and things, I know that my ego has framed or presented to me, its needs and its desires as entitlements. And, entitlements can kind of feel like, they're like expectations that have a justification behind them, And anything that the ego presents as justified is kind of linked into this whole network of emotions in me anyway. And so ego will defend entitlement really, really strongly. And I suppose ego presents a very strong case for validity of my entitlements. But the truth is, and you were saying this, I was listening to you saying, am I going to keep following my fears. And the thing is that in actual fact, entitlements are kind of fears in disguise. I mean, I've discovered this through being your student. Like, fears in disguise, I don't recognize them as fears, but that is exactly what they are. It's a fear. And so when I began to see that, it began to make a difference. I'm losing track of what I was saying now, Chris. I'm sorry.
No. I think you're absolutely correct.
I'm guessing.
You're getting bliss. No, I get it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You have that. You ride that wave, my dear. You ride that wave. Yeah, exactly what Amelia's saying. These entitlements, they are fears. They're disguised fears because they cover up the individual's inability to change out of that entitlement, to not receive that entitlement. We can feel the valuable qualities of entitlements, especially when we're not receiving them. And that can cause us to, it's like she said, it's a level of fear of a lack of entitlement. I'm going to come on over here and talk to, I think this might be Rosemary. Is this Rosemary?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Oh, what are you doing something that I should change the channel for?
No, but I don't know if that's my button until you tell me that it's my voice you hear.
Yeah. So tell me about the entitlements and how they might affect you, Rosemary.
Well, that's interesting because I too hadn't thought about that as ego, but the life that I've led has been so, I would just say, blessed. I've been fortunate. And I guess how it would show up now is that my life should be that easy. And I should be able to have things done faster and better and not meet struggles or not meet being able to reach people, or the work that I'm doing now with the film screenings, and whenever I need something and it takes so long for somebody to respond at all sometimes, that's the impatient ego that I have.
I imagine that would be me.
What? You? Well, no, not so much you.
Good.
No.
Glad to hear it.
No, because I know that I'm the one, sounds very arrogant, I'm the one who drives my program.
Yes, indeed.
How I'm doing, what I'm doing, if I'm listening inwardly, if I'm listening to my mind and my ego and my impatience, my expectations of people. I think now that you say that when I'm talking, that entitlement is an expectation from experience. So
right.
I've been blessed, so I would expect ease from my life at this time. Yeah.
Well, thank you, my dear, and you put it very succinctly, I have to say. Thank you very much. So there you have it. There you have it. Rosemary, says something very interesting, and it comes from experience. It comes from having a very specific experience given to you over and over and over and over and over until it's built up its own physical reality-based expectation, and you become a kind of like a victim of that entitlement, especially when it's something that feeds the ego. And when I ask people to release these entitlements, when I ask people release the expectation of being treated a certain way, or the expectation of the whole work and reward paradigm, you put this much work in and therefore you should get this reward. And this happens a lot with the Kundalini. People say, well, geez, I've been meditating and I've been giving devotion and I've been doing the 5 Tibetans and I've been doing the service, and I've been doing, I've been practicing the safeties, and I've been on the web, and I've been listening to your radio show, and I've been, doing all these things, and yet, as they stand there with their arms folded across their chest, tapping their foot, going, "Where's the payoff? Where's the payoff? Come on, Chrism. Did everything you told me to do. Now, where's the payoff?" And I have to tell them, I say, your Kundalini is the one that provides the payoff. I'm not going to give you a payoff. I'm not going to spark a spinal sweep in you because you've been doing this for a certain amount of time, typically a short amount of time. No. You have to consistently do this work. You have to do this work a day in, day out, without the expectation of that entitlement of reward. And we're, in the Western societies, we're trained to really have the expectation of that reward, that okay, no pain, no gain. Well, I've given you all this pain. Where's my gain? Okay, and so, through commercials and through our literature and through our own social interactions with each other, we always associate great effort with great reward, and Kundalini doesn't necessarily do that. Kundalini is probably far more interested in sincerity and consistency of sincerity than it is about you, opening a door for a person. Where is your level of sincerity when it comes to embracing the Kundalini? How honest can you? And have you ever had the question put to you? Is how deep can you go into honesty? How deep into sincerity can you go? Have you ever been pushed to those areas of expression? Have you had the opportunity to plumb the depths of your sincerity and honesty and drive to be that way? Has anybody ever asked you, well, how sincere are you about this? You can go for a scale of 1 to 100, or you can say very, very, very sincere. Well, where are you with the sincerity with your Kundalini? How sincere are you in willing to give up your life, give up the control of your life, give up those expectations, give up those entitlements, give up the ordinary, give up the familiar, give up the complacency of having knowledge and being able to understand what is occurring, which is just another form of entitlement. Have you explored these areas yet? Are you willing to go into those areas where you don't know anything, you have to obey, and you do that obedience with such clarity, such grace, such courage, such sincerity and honesty and truth, that it is actually, when you're surrendering these things to the Kundalini, it needs to be the most truthful that you have ever been in your life. The most truthful that your higher mental functioning consciousness can be. In the Huna terms, the Uhane, as opposed to the ego, which is Hun Unihipili. And so it's very, very, very much on your shoulders and inside your heart, the many mansions of your heart, to determine how deeply you can commit to what the Kundalini is bringing you towards. If the Kundalini is giving you a teacher, well, then you have to do this with a teacher. You have to do the shadow work with a teacher. You have to do the devotion with a teacher. You have to do this to a living flesh person. And oh my God, that alone brings up a whole level of contradiction. And oh my gosh, in the Western world, we're never give your devotion to a living person. If it's made out of rock, it's fine. If it's made out of wood and it's somebody being tortured on a cross, that's fine. If it's some fat guy with a certain finger position looking down at his navel, that's fine, okay too. If it's a certain animal, power animal, fine. That's a little out there, but okay, we'll accept that. But never to a living person, because then it's a cult. Then it's a cult. Then you got a real problem. And so, because of that teaching and what you've been raised with in the Western society, generally speaking, I'm not speaking absolutism or absolutely. Generally speaking, you have that to overcome as well, and that is a fear. It's like, oh my God, am I getting sucked into a cult? Oh my God! And then you do a review of the teacher, and he's got all these really nice things that people are saying about him, and really terrible things that people are saying, and that's not helping you at all. It doesn't make you form your own decision. You still have to make a choice within yourself about this teacher that the Kundalini is giving you. And oh my gosh, it's not the easiest thing. It is not the easiest thing, and it's not helped. It's not helped. But as Amelia said, I do this work, but I don't know anybody else that does this work. I have searched and searched and searched the web. I have searched using words like Kundalini refinement protocols or teaching levels of correct behavior plus Kundalini. Search, and nobody's doing this. Nobody's doing this, and even spiritual communities that have great resource and great vibration, and they have a good number of people, and they're working on very specific levels of spirituality, whether it's Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, whatever, and they're really working in these areas, but they're not working on the ego. They're not self-correcting. It's hard to find this in the world, even with our expanded communications vis-a-vis cell phones and the internet and computers and whatnot. I mean, it's still hard to find this, and so without other teachers doing this, you don't have a big menu of teachers teaching this way, and so once again, you run up against that wall of fear. Oh my God, I know Kundalini sent me here, but I don't know about this guy, And he wears the same clothes 2 days in a row. I mean, WTF! I won't tell you what that means if you don't already know. So yeah, these levels of knowledge, these levels of information that you have expectation to have are also to be seen as entitlements, because they come from conditioning, they come from programming, and they force you out of your mental monkey mind information-based chatter about how to make the best decision, and usually the best decision that a person is looking is the most profitable decision. Profit in the information, profit in the understanding, profit in that I don't have to do this as long as I don't want to do. I mean, people typically want to just go through the school and get through it and graduate, and then fine, we're done. Okay, and this doesn't have that kind of terminus. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Are you willing to embrace the Kundalini, and are you willing to really give yourself into that embrace, to dig as deep a level of honesty and sincerity and trust and faith in this unknown quality of that which is within you, and that which is from within you, directing you to a certain level of education outside of you? Are you willing to take these steps? And if you're unwilling, where does that leave you? Well, if you got the Kundalini, where does that leave you? I mean, basically you're saying, you're raising that middle finger to the Kundalini saying, I'm not going to do that. I don't like this guy. He's got red hair. And you know how I feel about that color hair. And the Kundalini's just going to look at you and go, well, then here's the wall. Begin beating your head against it. And when you get tired of that, well, then there's always that guy with the red hair. Basically, that's it. Life will take on a level of meaninglessness. Life becomes very, very dull. It becomes without without the reward of achievement, without the reward of knowing why you're here and what you're here to do, and without that drive of moving towards those qualities of grace. It becomes kind of it seems like you're caught in the eye of a hurricane, and except the eye, it's a huge hurricane, but the eye is very, very small, and you're right there in the middle of the eye, and you're watching the contents of your life swirl around in front of you, and yet so close that you could grab it, but it's going so fast you can't touch it. And you just walk through life like that. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't wish that on anybody. Once Kundalini is up in you, there are really you have the illusion of having a choice. You have the illusion of having a choice, but there's very little choice. Very, very, very little choice. And people can fight it. They can fight it and fight it and fight it and fight it, and they can wonder, well, what the heck am I doing wrong? Except they don't seem to understand that they're resisting the paradigm of education that the Kundalini has set out for them. This is what I did. I resisted and resisted and resisted and resisted, and it got so bad. It had to get so bad because I'm such a nit. It took me 12 years just to get to the point where I could surrender to the Kundalini. And yet after I surrendered, of course, everything bloomed, everything that I had been thinking that was wrong was all of a sudden right, and everything that was right was being expanded into levels of not just right, but it's righteousness. I mean, it took on a religious appeal, a holiness to it, a divine quality of it. And it was after that is where I really focused my attention, was following the divine signature, regardless of how my family felt about it, regardless of how my friends felt about it, regardless of how my coworkers felt about it, regardless of about how society in general felt about it. I followed that, and I continue to follow that to this day. I continue to follow that to this day, and this is what I will continue to do. Now I'm going to swing it back on over to Her Holiness in Ireland. Amelia, do you have any announcements to make?
I do, Chrism, yes, indeed. Just to say that there was a bit of a chat there on the group, and the chat room isn't showing for anybody this week. So apologies to those. Yeah, Cole was trying to find it, and Helly, and it's not showing up.
I'm staring at it right now. Let me see if I can. Oh, jeez.
Strange one, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love it. You just gotta love it.
I know. As you're looking at that, I give the announcements. I want to let people know where they can go if they would like to make a donation to support the work that Chrism does. There are two places you can go to. The first place I've been giving out for quite some time, and that is www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And on the upper right-hand corner, you will see the donate button. There is another place you can go. It's also a blog spot. It might be an easier one to remember. It's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com, and the donate button in this case is on the left hand side. That's www.chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. All donations are gratefully received. They make a difference, and thank you to everybody who has donated recently, and thank you to everybody who is in a position and who will do that in the future. Very, very much appreciated. I would like to also say, Chrism was speaking recently in London, at the Conference for Human Consciousness and Evolution. And he also gave a one-day workshop a week later, which was very successful. And from that, there's a demand that, a request and a demand, really, people wanting to return to London again, possibly in January, to give a 2-day seminar. And at that, he will also be giving an in-person Shakti Path for the people who attend that. So if you're listening to this, and if you have an interest in attending, if you're living in the UK, Scotland, Wales, England, or if you are in Europe, it's very easy to get to London. And so maybe start considering that this is an opportunity that you could, make use of and come to London to meet with Chrism, to receive Shaktipat, and to also meet with other Kundalini people. If you would like to drop an email, your email address to kundalinimatters@gmail.com, we can add you to our email list and keep you up to date with that. There are other seminars happening in the US as well, and there's one happening in November. And it is dear Rosemary that has the details for that. So will we bring Rosemary on, Chrism, to talk about that?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Bringing Rosemary on right now. There we are. Hi, Rosemary.
Yes, thank you both. And I had some thoughts about what I wanted to share today, but from what you talked about the ego, that's probably where it's coming from. But maybe I'll say it anyway, and I'll say this first before the information. I just looked in the last 4 seminars that we had, and the very first one was 4 years ago, and I looked at what I remembered, and we've had people here in our community from Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, Florida, Missouri, California, and Seattle, and maybe even some that I've missed. But that's such a, when I think about it, a contribution to us to have that's happened here, and as well the community that we have from last September and that we're meeting tomorrow, and anyone, and as we have people from November, they will have that home, in a sense, prepared for them. So it is a great blessing, Chrism, that you are available to us, and that's come through your presence here and your work here. And I personally thank you, of course, and speak also for others. And that opportunity will likewise be here again, November 14th and 15th. And my contact information is rosemaryg@usinternet.com and 651-329-9615. And we have an early registration fee also, so that's an advantage. And anyone who has made a seminar, there is an advantage to that too. So please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Yes, indeed. I'm greatly looking forward to coming out to Minnesota once again to visit the Kunalini family out there. And I also want to reiterate what Amelia said about the United Kingdom. It was a great honor, great blessing to be in the United Kingdom and to give 2 different conversations about Kundalini awakening, and to indeed have a successful one-day event there. And I would welcome anybody who wants to have a seminar, a 2 or 1 day seminar, to really begin to set that up, and to contact Amelia, Santara Kundalini, or myself, and let's go ahead and begin to set this up. The more of the truth of Kundalini that we can bring into this world, the better this world is going to be, in my opinion. And so I would like to thank you, Rosemary, for organizing these seminars that you have been organizing. So thank you very much for that. And I would also like to thank Santara for organizing the seminars that she has done, and Eileen for organizing the seminars that she has done, and Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez as well. And it's a true blessing for this to occur in this world, and I just want to say thank you to all of you. And I'm going to go ahead and bring Santara back on, and let's talk about some questions that you may have garnered, my dear.
Okay, well, actually, Chrism, you refer to one of them a little. I'm scrolling down, and it was about devotion. And I had a question come into my inbox, and it says, Chrism is offering group devotion, and he says this can work very well for a person's equation. Can you ask him to say more about this, please?
Well, indeed I can, and let me go right to where this information is. I'm going to read the whole thing here. The purpose of this in-person, or at least in digital person, this devotional period is to have an extra added time with a Kundalini Awakened teacher for your devotion, but also to begin a group pattern of Kundalini amplified group devotion. And this is done with a mantra to the flesh teacher, sub-vocally, and this will typically take about 21 minutes. It can go longer, but we're trying for 21 minutes at first because not everybody is used to doing this type of a devotion, and this will be offered once a month at a set time that the organizer, Brooke Robertson, will post on the KS1 groups. All who wish to join in will just need to send Brooke Robertson a PM, and she will add you to the list for that month. The limit is 25 people. First come, first serve. We will meet on the Zoom program, that's Z0 or ZOOM or ZOOM. If you don't have that application, you can go to zoom.us and download the link. It's very easy, folks. I've done this, and if Chrism can do this, anybody can do this. Once you join Zoom, you'll be able to connect with us at our specified time and day. Devotion is an extremely important part of our work. It offers so much healing, transformation, reorganization of psychology, radiance, and much, much more, as many of you already know. Send Brooke Robertson a message if you have any questions about that on Facebook. So, this is a Facebook program, and I'm going to bring Brooke on here. Just a second. I'm going to put you in the blue Centaura, I think. And I'm going to bring Brooke on here. Hello, Brooke. Is this Brooke?
Hi there.
Hey. People are asking about the online devotion that'll be happening right after the radio show today. Can you say anything about that?
Yeah, I can read a couple of points that we wrote out, or that I wrote out on devotion, if that might help this person who's asking.
Sure.
Devotion forms an energetic surround, an atmosphere of healing, protection around you, which in turn creates your Kundalini radiance that moves out from you in your expression. It is an access point, talking about devotion, is an access point of your connection and your communion with love, which bonds you to the unlimited awareness of truth. It will align you with the frequency that you are, and there you will find a place of home. It is calming, grounding, soothing, and healing, and you are in the direct flow and connection of your Kundalini. It is the means through which Kundalini can speak to you and through you. It is a place where you can release and give yourself fully as you fall into the arms of grace, a place of sanctuary as you surrender the endeavor to keep it all under control. It is a means through which we can come under control by letting go and surrendering everything. It is a place where you can allow for the purification of your heart and allow for the releasing and resolving of some of the mixtures that tend to reside there. To practice your devotion is the means through which we can create the temple and a means by which we abide there. And this is just something I wrote, I think about a couple months ago regarding devotion, and I was asking myself, what is the importance of the devotion and why are we doing it? Oh, there's my pup.
Nice.
And that's what I came up with, some of the reasons.
Well, thank you.
So I think the group, you're welcome.
Go ahead. You were saying.
I just think the group devotion is for so many out there who don't have, I thought of this idea of, maybe doing a group devotion because so many out there don't have regular access to a teacher or a place where we can actually be that surrendered space or give that surrendered substance. And I know for a long time in my life, I did not have anywhere to do this. and I always had the compulsion to, but it was just a little odd because you look out and you go, now what is going on? Where am I going to do this? So for a grouping of us to get together, all of these points that I just wrote out, they're amplified, but it's also, of course, individually a place where we can come when you don't have access to a teacher. So that was the idea behind my thought of doing the group devotion.
Thank you. It's a great service. It's a great thought, and some really, really good points that you bring up on devotion, and thank you for sharing them with us. And for people that want to join into this devotion, they just contact you after the show, or how does that work?
Yep. Yeah, we have a few more spots left. You can just private message me on Facebook, and we will get you, straightened out with the Zoom application if you're not familiar with that. Yeah.
And thank you very much, my dear. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
All right, so there you have it. We do have this opportunity today, this day, after the program. It'll be about an hour after the program, and I invite everybody who's listening on their computer, on their telephone. The chat group seems kind of weird because it seems to be going in and out. I'm not quite sure how that's working. I see Cole has disappeared. We just have to embrace these things, because, it is what it is, and I just want to say, thank you to Cole and the other people who are listening offline, or at least out of the chat room and participating energetically that way. And I want to invite all of you to the group devotion today. And Santara, please continue with your questions.
Okay, Chrism. So the next question: even though we have forgiven, why, when we think about something or someone that hurt us, does it cause solar plexus pain or cramps? Can you speak about this, please?
Well, typically we carry around a hurt for more than, a micro minute during a day. So it really takes just a very small amount of time to go through the mechanism of forgiveness. And yet, it may take many, many, many more times digging into that hurt, into that, if it's an anger grudge or something like that, digging into that to really let the forgiveness be true. Just skating across it and saying, oh, I forgive you, and then expecting that to be all done may not be a realistic approach. We hold these things in our bodies, and these emotions stay in our bodies. They stay in our heart, and the heart is right there next to the solar plexus, and so it stays in our chest, and we need to forgive that one thing many, many, many more than just one time. Unless you're that rare person who can really, truly, deeply, irrevocably forgive that one time, we're going to have to do it, quite a few times until we can attain a level of balance within that forgiveness. Done.
Thank you, Chrism. And just to say for myself as well, you can have something that, I have forgiven, but because the people I'm connected to that are connected to that situation, there can be new things that come up that are tied into that thing in the past that need ongoing forgiveness. And that is something that I have discovered as well, that I have to keep forgiving these people. It keeps pulling the stuff up from the past. It's like whoosh, and I thought I had it done, but exactly as you say, I hadn't, and that it's an amazing thing how that unfolds. And with one particular scenario for me that has been going on for a couple of years, there has been incredible freedom and healing come through consciously working that safety or forgiveness in that situation. So, it's not a failure, is it? When, sometimes initially I used to think, oh my God, I'm doing this, because I used to think I'm not really forgiving properly, but I was each time. And then I just need to do it again because, more comes up. And so that's how that safety of forgiveness being something that we go back to again and again, it's such a healing and freeing and wonderful safety.
Well, and I also there are also I think techniques that are out there such as tapping. You can do forgiveness, and in addition to doing the forgiveness, there are certain types of tapping, and I'm going to bring Brooke back on here because she's a tapper. Brooke, do you have any of the tapping techniques that?
I'm a tapper. The tapping saved me during my frag. It really did, and I still do it, of course, today. All when I need to. But this technique is the founder of this. She's actually a good friend of mine. She was a student of the Emotional Freedom Technique, EFT, yes. And she went on to do some real specific work with it later on and came up with her own technique, which is, she's just a wizard, this woman. I love her. And she deals with the auric field and the energy, and she will diagnose where the certain sticking points are. Because like you said, these issues, they are in the body, but they're also in the energetic fields, which, that's the same thing. So you'll go in and you'll tap certain sequences of tapping. It's not a generic tap. So say you needed to forgive on an issue, you wouldn't just do the regular forgiveness tapping. You would actually have one that's specific to you and the issue that happened with you and when it happened and all that. It's very specific and it's really beautiful. I mean, I can give the link to her website. I don't know, but that's what I do with the tapping.
Well,
that's one of the things I found very helpful. It doesn't help you with.
If you go to Brooke's Facebook
Go
page,
ahead.
If you go to Brooke's Facebook page, she may be able to. Hello. What's going on?
Hi. I don't know.
What's going on?
One at a time.
One at a time.
Go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You were going to say something about my Facebook page.
Yeah, could you put a link on your Facebook page and so they can just come there and get that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that excellent introduction into tapping for forgiveness. So thank you very much.
Can I say one more thing about that?
Sure.
That it doesn't, like you say, the tapping won't remove the work the person has to do with the karma, or the actual responsibility the person has in establishing a deep level of forgiveness in your heart. But it does assist with loosening, and in some cases assist with the after you've done a certain amount of work. I feel, in my experience, it moves out easier. I don't know how to explain it, but you still have to do the work. So there you go. Thank
you. And it's indeed it is true. You still have to do the work. But I think tapping is a resource that is not contraindicated by the Kundalini, that a person can use to really begin to remove some of the toxic feelings and scenarios that require forgiveness. And I just want to say hello to Mary Jean and Vincent and Cole. I see that the chat room is back up, and there's a guest 1203, and hello to you, Mr. and Mrs. Guest. And please continue, Santara.
I'm reminded of Paddy Pope as well, that we met in Washington, because he also speaks about the tapping.
Vincent 91 also says, Vincent says, I tap too much as well. I can recommend Fast Drift very warmly. Okay. Not quite sure what that is, but okay. Faster EFT, I see. And hello to you, Mary Jean. So yeah. Next question.
Okay, next question. Can Kundalini awakened or activated people get psychic attacks or be affected by hate and negativity towards them?
Yes, most certainly. They can be affected. They don't necessarily have to be damaged. Certainly within the early aspects of the activation, when the Kundalini is early in its presence within the body, it's going to definitely keep people, unless there's some sort of a karmic reason why they should be attacked immediately. It should keep people pretty clear and clean until perhaps they're ready to begin to tackle some of what it is to live outside of the physical paradigm. Very important for people to understand that when you're living outside of the physical paradigm, well, you're living in the spiritual, energetic paradigm, and those have been split up into to dimensions of interaction, such as, say, the astral dimension, and then you have the astral, the causal, the mental, things of that nature. And it's very important for a person to understand that there are creation, spirits, and thought forms, and all different kinds of cogent creation that is out there, and that may want to participate with a Kundalini awakened person in order to cause corruption or to cause damage or to cause malfeasance in some way. And yeah, that can occur, but it typically occurs after the person has had the Kundalini for a time, and it's very important for the Kundalini awakened person to have very specific levels of knowledge about not interacting with entities. You do not say hello. You do not tell them to stop. You don't tell them to F off or anything like that. You just totally ignore them. You may be able to hear them inside your head because they'll speak to you telepathically, but even though they can do that, you just ignore them completely. You take your focus right off of them. And as far as hatred emanating from other people, well, I mean, that happens even without Kundalini. People will hate you just for breathing the air. People have hatred and anger for people because they hate themselves, or they don't like their life. They're unhappy with how their life is going, and so they're having a hard time dealing with that. And so, there are many, many cases where people will just blast hatred at you, and it just should roll right off your back, just like water on a duck. I mean, the scenario is just because you're Kundalini awakened doesn't mean you have to internalize everybody's emotional outburst. There are filters that you're not even aware of. There are filters that come with the Kundalini, and if that emotional outburst isn't there to help you within your evolution, you're probably not even going to be aware of it. Done.
And forgiveness, I guess, Chrism, yes, when you are aware of it. Forgiveness for the person who is, hateful, hating you. Yeah.
Forgiveness will really, it's a great point, Santara. Forgiveness really will begin to ameliorate any kind of an interaction or negative interaction that person, the hateful person is projecting at you, or that anger, or, and then levels of tolerance as well. Forgiveness and tolerance go hand in hand with this stuff. They're very, very, very close in how they can really help a person survive the onslaught of the many different emotional frequencies that you experience when you just go into a grocery store. People are in self-hatred. You're standing right next to criminals and child molesters and people who are, inside of a very, very, very difficult, hurtful environment. You also have people that are angels and people that are just very, very beautiful and joyful and happy and healthy. So it's a real myriad of frequency that a person is moving through within society, and it's important that you begin to realize that the Kundalini is fully aware of the frequencies of the people that are around you at all times, and it will only allow those things in that you need to work with. As I mentioned earlier, you hold up that mirror. You hold that mirror and you look at yourself. You say, well, have you ever had an angry outburst? And if you have, well, then how can you not be forgiving of this person here? Have you ever seen a child have an angry outburst, how they just burst into tears or they scream or whatever? How can you not have tolerance for that? Because there you were at one time. There you were at one time, except me, of course, but everybody else, yes. There you were at one time. I better stop right there.
Okay. Well, the next question is, our Kundalinis are unique to each one, and so are our experiences. So with regard to visions, what is real and what is not? And that's taken from the group. Yeah.
Well, let's read that first premise that they have supplied for us here. Say that again.
Our Kundalinis are unique to each one, and so are our experiences.
Okay. And what's the question again?
So with regard to visions, like what is real and what is not? It came from a discussion on visions that were, what was subjective and what was objective.
Well, if you're able to do a subjective, objective assessment prognosis, you can pretty much do a SOAP diagnosis of yourself and figure out what is real and what isn't. But I'm not sure that that could actually work, really, if a person could sit down and do that. And that is a logical, linear way to say, deduce how real the vision would be. I accept their premise that everybody's Kundalini is unique, and therefore their visions are also unique and their experiences are unique. She's just asking, I guess, how to determine if they're real or not, right?
I think that, yes, exactly, yeah. What is real and what is not.
How do you determine they're real? Well, I mean, you can't poke a finger at it. So what you do is you take the information that it may be showing you. And if there is no information, which typically is not the case for Kundalini, if you're not seeing anything that's teaching you anything, then I would suggest it's itinerant and it doesn't really need to be paid attention to unless you can discern levels of information. And of course, within a vision, you need to look at the context of the vision, what it is it's showing you, what the colors are, what the smells are, what the sights are, what the sounds are. You need to be observant of what the characters in the vision are doing. Are they looking at you? Are they not seeing you? Is there a form, a consciousness that is teaching you about that? I mean, really, the level of veracity is in your hands. It's basically there for you to discern how a teaching may be given, or a teacher who has experience in discerning, say, Kundalini dream work or Kundalini-based visions would have a good idea of what was being given to you as well. The most important thing about that really is to be to remember in as much minute detail as possible and to write it down. I swear, I tell people to keep these dream journals, and I get happy nodding heads, and they never do it. They never.
Gosh, terrible.
Maya, did you have a dream?
I know you're not referring to me.
Continue.
Okay. There was another question. I mean, somebody made a comment. It said, yes, we humans are sentient and infallible. I think they might say infallible. We are always in error all the time. And
because we're living inside of an illusion, and because of that illusion is covering layers of truth, and we are living inside of the illusory natures of the ego, we are always living in some form of mistake, misunderstanding, or disinformation.
Okay.
Were you going to add something to that?
No, I suppose I'm just, because I wouldn't disagree with it. And yes, I'm thinking in a Kundalini context, are we always in error all the time? I don't think so. But I'm kind of going, I'm not sure. I don't think we are. Is that my ego, Chrism? In a Kundalini context.
In a Kundalini context, are we mistaken all the time? You know, I would have to say yes to a large degree, simply because we don't know how not to be mistaken. We don't. Even as we surrender to the Kundalini, we're still living in these bodies, and as we live in these bodies, we're still living in society. And as we're living in society, we're still coping with society and the different frequencies of illusion that society propels at us. And so we still have to drive that car. We still have to take out and take care of the kids, and we still have friends and relationships that we need to nurture. And so as we delve into their illusions, so do we honor their illusions, and by honoring those illusions, we make the mistake of living the life of the divine, or not living the life of the divine.
Okay, thank you. Okay, this was a statement and a question of the group. I didn't get any questions today into my inbox, so I don't have that many. This might be the last one. Has anyone ever noticed a detachment from emotions inside of you? You clearly feel, for example, a calm and open state below negative emotions. Any thoughts or experiences or feelings about this?
Detachment is common inside of the Kundalini.
Yeah.
Detachment is a very common thing. Emotional detachment, even physical detachment. People will quit their jobs. People will quit their marriage. People will make radical changes in their life just based on the detached quality of the Kundalini expressing through them. And so this is part of a classical awakening where you lose the need to have and to hold things. But you also lose the need to have and to hold very specific ego-oriented emotional qualities. And that level of detachment is actually one of the most sought-after levels of detachment that many people of different religions are trying to achieve. And so it is one of the definite blessings that Kundalini can bring, that this level of detachment is fairly common among those who are open to experiencing it. Done.
Okay, and there was one other question. You kind of have this answered. It was on the group. It says, you spoke already about ego and freedom from ego control, but the question is Kundalini control versus self-freedom, ?
Yeah, Kundalini gets to control your freedom. So, but it's your ego freedom that it typically controls. It's not going to, if you have a Kundalini awakening and you're behind bars, well, you're going to still be behind bars. Okay, it's not going to break you out of jail. It could speed that up. I mean, it could, if it has a reason for you to be out into the population, say you've been jailed innocently, and it could actually speed the paperwork up. It could do a lot of different things. To handle legalese or even medicalese type of scenarios. And so it does have the ability to free you, but it typically won't free you just so that you can express your ego all over again. And so ego freedom is definitely curtailed within the Kundalini awakening, but physical freedom and the freedoms of embracing the Kundalini, of embracing humanity, embracing the love that it brings, and all of the different ramifications of Kundalini, that freedom is left intact, because certain levels of choice also need to be left intact so that the person can be seen as making the appropriate decision or the inappropriate decision, and then that based on the qualities of their choices will determine the level of teaching that the Kundalini will give them.
Okay. Thanks, Chrism. That is actually the end of the questions that I have for today. So thanks a million. Can I just give the address again if people want to give their email addresses and receive information about the seminar in England, and maybe there'll be one in Ireland coming up as well next year. And that is kundalinimatters@gmail.com. Just pop me off your email and I can send you information as it unfolds for the new year. So that's it, Chrism.
Pop me
off your email.
Definitely an Irish thing, I think.
Okay.
well, no,
yeah.
And I want to thank you, Santara, for dealing with your smashed up iPad, which seems to be working really well. I haven't heard you sound this good in a long time, so it's definitely something went right with it. And I wish you all the best.
It's amazing because if you were to look at it, it is shattered, the glass, but it's functioning very well. So I'm going to be looking at that now tomorrow and seeing what to do to correct it. So I'm thankful to Cole. You're listening there, Cole, for all the advice and the other people who gave me advice. Thanks indeed. So, Chrism, just before we go, I suppose, I was thinking again there as you were answering the questions about, there were times when, I felt it was the Kundalini. I used to laugh and think, Kundalini, it's you're really, really the mean one, giving Chrism to me as a teacher. and sort of,
You wouldn't be the only one thinking that, I guarantee you that.
But, the willingness, to surrender to the Kundalini and the willingness to surrender to the teacher that the Kundalini has given to me. There isn't much of a choice there for me, really, to be perfectly honest. And that willingness is kind of unconditional. It can't be done with...
How did you overcome your resistance to that surrender? What happened in your process, Santara?
How did I overcome it? Slowly. I don't know, Chrism. I'm your student since when? 2009. And so, you were talking earlier about sincerity. And my sincerity in wanting to follow what it was that the Kundalini gave for me to do. There was never any doubt in my mind that the Kundalini guided me to you and that you were to be my teacher. Never any doubt.
What you say there is that it's really not about the teacher so much. It's about following the guidance that the Kundalini has given. And I think that's a really good point. You follow the guidance, the directions that the Kundalini has given you to follow. And if that includes following a specific teacher or a specific author or a specific whatever, then that is what one does. Is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that is what I'm saying. But of course, on that journey, having committed to it, my ego gave me good reason why I could, slide out of that authentic and genuine willingness to surrender. It presented me with, stories and scenarios, and I had a couple of entities pop along and help, trying to change my mind. But because of the willingness, and of the direction and the absolute knowing that this is what Kundalini wanted me to do. And because as well, Chrism, when you move, I'm with you as my teacher, and when you're with the teacher, the experience of each, can I call it a phase? That's not quite right, but, it is in a way, there are phases. And the experience of each phase of being a student and a teacher, when that phase is completed, nothing can change the grace that was received. Nothing. And so it is like a stepping stone into the next phase. And another stepping stone and another stepping stone. And I never, ever, ever allowed, because I couldn't, that grace was, and that learning and that teaching and that Kundalini presence couldn't take away that. And so each time, even though things got more difficult, sometimes the next phase might have been even more challenging, those expectations and entitlements up, they would come again, but I could not deny what had previously gone ahead. And so no matter what ego said, the guidance of the Kundalini and the teaching received from the Kundalini through you, that cannot be denied, that cannot be eliminated, no matter what ego says. And that's just a fact. So thank you.
Thank you, Kundalini. That's the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's you.
Well, that's how it was for me, you know.
Thank you. And let's see. I'm going to bring it on over to Eileen here. Hello, Eileen.
Hi, Chrism.
Hey, so how were you able to commit yourself to following the guidance that the Kundalini gave you? What blockages did you experience, and how were you able to overcome them?
Well, some of them I've overcome, some of them I have not. At the very beginning, things for me, when I look back, they went very well. I was just enthralled with the Kundalini, and I feel more willing at that time to do what I had to do on my journey, my moving around or whatever. It's become more difficult, and this might just be it might be a phase. Listening to you tonight, a lot of what you said resonated with me. The blockages, one of the things that came up is, for me, is education. I've always been a big proponent of education, and I worked hard to get a couple of the degrees, and now, before, that was important, and in conversations that would come up. Now, it's not important. It really doesn't mean anything that I have a couple of degrees. That's one thing that I think I've been able to detach from. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot.
No. I think actually, that makes a lot of sense. People put such a major focus of ego on the pieces of paper that they've gone to school to achieve, and it begins to really sculpt how they are, and sculpt what they can do, what kind of job they can have, and so it's really a form of ego aggrandizement as well in our society, that we have certain levels of what we would call higher education. But I'm glad that it's nice to hear that you were able to distance yourself from that type of ego pollution.
And the other thing that goes along with that, and you mentioned the job or the work or the career or our path that we think is so important. I had a career, and now I look back on it and I'm going, yes, I enjoyed it while I did it, but to me right now, it doesn't have a whole lot of meaning other than some of the skills I learned I can now use. So it's that whole thing of the career and wanting to succeed has no meaning. It's not important,
right, because your ego's been taken out of the equation. Nice.
It doesn't. It really doesn't determine who I am. But anyway, that's kind of where I am right now.
Oh no, that was excellent response to that, Eileen. Thank you. Those are very. That's an angle that hasn't been discussed that many times, and so thank you very much, my dear.
You're welcome.
Okay, all right. And Santara, is there any last words that you would like to say?
No, I think I've said enough today.
Right.
Thank you to everybody, I guess, for listening, and the guys in the chat room. And we will see everybody again next week, same time, same channel. Thank you, Chrism.
Thank you, my dear. And so I just want to say, once again, I'd like to say thank you, everybody in the chat room, for your patience, for sticking with it and coming on here. I'd like to thank everybody who's listening on their computer, their telephone. Thank you for our guests who every single one of them responded and responded well. And I'd like to thank everybody who is listening to this in the future. Hello, you. And with that said, I am going to end this program and wish you all the very, very best as you embrace your Kundalini awakening experience. Ah.